Hey guys, it's Destiny, and today we are going to be going over the best Hysilens teams. And before we begin today's video, I would love to know if you are personally planning to pull for Hysilens, or if you're 100% going to skip, and who are you going to skip for? Lastly, if you enjoy videos like these, do consider subscribing to see more content from me, leave a like to support the video, and now let's get straight into it. To start with today's video, I thought we could do a quick overview of what Hysilens does, which she is a Physical Nihility character who specializes in inflicting damage over time onto enemies so that the team is able to deal more damage onto them, including herself, and she is also able to detonate damage over time herself with her ultimate. When it comes to her debuffing capabilities, her skill will inflict a 20% vulnerability onto all enemies, and this 20% vulnerability can essentially be seen as a 1.2 times damage increase for the team. And then for her ultimate, she's going to be able to create a zone which will reduce enemies' attack by 15% and their defense by 25%. The attack decrease onto enemies will allow you to have a bit more survivability with your team. And then when it comes to the defense decrease, this will be very handy when it comes to being able to deal more damage onto enemies with your team. So you're going to have the combination of the vulnerability from her skill and then also the defense reduction with her ultimate. And then additionally, whenever an ally attacks an enemy, Hysilens will have a 100% base chance to inflict wind shear, bleed, burn, or shock onto that enemy, prioritizing to inflict a different state. If you already have, let's say, bleed, burn, and shock, then she will prioritize inflicting wind shear. And this is going to be very helpful for inflicting multiple forms of damage over time onto enemies. And this also allows team members to assist with inflicting these debuffs onto enemies. For example, let's say you had Gallagher on the team. Gallagher being able to attack enemies frequently, especially considering his ultimate where he's able to advance himself forward by 100%. You could take advantage of this in order to apply these damage over time effects onto enemies thanks to Hysilens' talent. And when it comes to team building with Hysilens, you'll primarily see her on damage over time teams. Reason being, her kit is heavily centered around that. When it comes to one of Hysilens' best partners, that would be Kafka. Reason why is Kafka is going to be able to frequently detonate the damage over time inflicted onto enemies with her skill, ultimate, and then her follow-ups as well. She is going to be able to do this frequently, as mentioned, as you can equip a light cone such as before the tutorial mission begins on her. And let's say you didn't have Black Swan on the team, no problems there. Since Hysilens' zone will reduce all enemies' defenses, you'll still be able to get that additional energy from tutorial without Black Swan on the team. And then if you do have, let's say, the Eagle set on Kafka, now she can advance herself forward after using her ultimate, which results in her attacking more frequently now, and as a result, detonating damage over time more frequently as well. Kafka is still one of the most important characters when it comes to the damage over time playstyle, just due to the frequency of her being able to detonate damage over time. And while Hysilens herself can do it with her ultimate, unfortunately, Hysilens does not have the same frequency as Kafka. And additionally, Kafka will also be able to provide a huge attack boost to allies that have over 75% effect hit rate. They'll be able to get a 100% attack boost, which can benefit Kafka herself, Hysilens, if you have Black Swan on the team, or let's say you had a different damage over time character, it could benefit them. And Black Swan is also able to reduce enemy defenses as well, which can pair very nicely with the fact that Hysilens reduces defense. So now you're going to be able to have an even greater defense reduction onto enemies, which can heavily assist with the damage output of the team overall. In the case of Kafka, I already mentioned that her trace will be able to provide that 100% attack for allies on the team. In this case, Hysilens, Kafka, and Black Swan herself will all be able to take advantage of this. And in the case of Hysilens, she is able to inflict that vulnerability debuff onto enemies with her skill, the defense reduction with her ultimate, and be able to inflict frequent forms of damage over time onto enemies as well, which results in Kafka as well as Hysilens being able to nicely detonate all the damage over time inflicted onto enemies. So this team is very synergistic and is also performing very well, I would say, currently in endgame. We would have to see in the future just how damage over time holds up. For the sustain, since Hysilens' talent allows an ally to assist with inflicting damage over time onto enemies, this allows you to mess around with multiple sustain options as they can assist when inflicting damage over time onto enemies. In the case of Gallagher, he's able to attack frequently. Huahua is able to provide attack and energy for the team with her ultimate, as well as frequent cleansing, which is always useful. Hyacin is able to attack frequently. Luocha can be really nice when it comes to the skill point regeneration. Gallagher is also very nice for that as well. Lingsha is able to attack frequently, especially since she does have her follow-up, which is Fuyuan. You can consider a character like Aventurine as well. He can also assist with skill point regeneration. Now, for those that don't have Black Swan, no worries. You can just swap in a support of your choice, preferably characters like Robin, Tribby, Ruame. You can also consider characters like Silverwolf, Cypher. I think I actually have a pop-up for them as well, but in this case, you can use some of those supports. In the case of Robin, what she is able to provide is the attack boost, the damage boost, the 100% advance forward for the entire team, which allows you now to get more energy for your characters, as well as also be able to potentially get another ultimate, whatever it may be. It's very useful when it comes to attempting to get lower cycle clears, as you will be able to have the 100% advance forward. Tribby is able to provide the ult type res pen, as well as a vulnerability debuff of her own, which can work nicely with the vulnerability debuff from Hysilens herself, and the ult type res pen will also be able to benefit the team's damage output. Ruame can be seen as a more free-to-play centric character, as she is more accessible now to acquire, and what Ruame is able to provide is the speed boost. She's able to provide damage boost for the team. She's able to provide ult type res pen, and so on. And if you're looking for a more free-to-play centric team, let's say you have Kafka already, you decide to pick up Hysilens, you can have Ruame in the 3rd slot, and then you can have Gallagher in the 4th slot if you are looking for something potentially a bit more budget friendly. And then here are also our debuffers. We have Cypher, Silverwolf, and then Pela. Pela is going to be able to assist with regenerating skill points, so will Silverwolf as well, and then with Cypher you can also basic attack with her. So in the case of Pela, she's able to reduce all enemies' defenses. Silverwolf will also be able to reduce all enemies' defenses and also inflict a weakness type of an ally onto an enemy, which will prioritize the 1st slot of the team. So if an enemy is weak to lightning but not physical, this could be a very nice opportunity for you to inflict the physical weakness onto an enemy, which now allows you to be able to break them with Hysilens, which I do enjoy breaking enemies with Hysilens, since I will be able to take advantage of bleed. In the case of Cypher, she's going to be able to record the damage that allies are dealing onto enemies. She's also going to inflict a 40% vulnerability debuff onto enemies just by being on the field, which would essentially be a 1.4 times damage increase for the team. For the sustains, they would stay the same as always. Most of these sustains are just going to basically be on screen the whole time. Now, this is more of a fun team. I have also showcased it on the channel, and it would be Acheron alongside Kafka and Hysilens. Now for this particular team, while Acheron wasn't dealing incredibly high numbers, you are still able to nicely take advantage of the damage that Kafka herself deals, and then also Hysilens. So it's basically a team effort. We have all 3 of these characters here working together to beat up whatever enemy they're fighting. And this is more of a fun team. I would personally recommend Hysilens and Kafka alongside Black Swan or a 3rd support character in the case of like Robin, Tribby, Ruame, Cypher, as I mentioned, over using a team like this, since what you could end up doing is having, let's say, Kafka, Hysilens, and then Black Swan or a different support. And then Acheron can also have characters that can benefit her, and now you essentially have 2 teams. In the case of Acheron, you could put her alongside Xiaoqiu, Silverwolf, Cypher, and so on. But regardless, this is still a pretty fun team, plus with Hysilens' talent, allowing her to inflict damage over time onto an enemy just by an ally attacking an enemy. This is actually pretty useful, as Acheron can take advantage of this to get more stacks for her ultimate. I was actually able to get Acheron's ultimate pretty frequently when I did play this team, which was pretty fun to mess around with. Now, another alternative when it comes to not using Black Swan could also be using one of the 4-star damage over time characters. I personally prefer using a buffer though in the 3rd slot rather than another damage over time character if it is one of the 4-star damage over time characters. However, this is still a nice option that you can take advantage of. We also have a version with Xiaoqiu, which I would say is better to use if you have E2 Xiaoqiu, as his 2nd Eidolon nicely caters to improving his performance when it comes to damage over time. And I also have tested out Hysilens with Black Swan and then Tribby in the 3rd slot, so no Kafka. I was able to get a 3-cycle clear against Japard in Memory of Chaos 12, which is a decent clear, I would say. and it did have the potential to maybe be a 2-cycle clear. However, the thing that the team heavily lacked was the frequent detonations that would come from Kafka's kit. So as I've been saying in my previous videos, I would highly recommend picking up Kafka first if you do not have Hysilens or Kafka, as Kafka is still a very important character for the playstyle, and then after Kafka I would recommend Hysilens. Now if you already have Kafka, Hysilens will be a very nice option for her. And you may be wondering, what about Hysilens as a general support? She is able to reduce enemies' defenses, and she is also able to inflict a vulnerability debuff with her skill. If you are looking for a more general support, I would lean more towards looking at characters such as Tribby, even Silverwolf. Now with her new buffs, she's able to inflict numerous types of debuffs onto enemies, which can be useful for improving a team's damage output. And she is also pretty versatile in who you can place her with. There are other supportive options as well, such as a character like Sunday. I would more so recommend looking at some of our other supportive options and primarily considering Hysilens in the case of if you are looking for a damage over time team, in my opinion, based on my testing so far. But I'd love to know if you guys are excited for Hysilens. She is going to be a very, very nice option for the damage over time playstyle. I know for those that were waiting for this, waiting for the new damage over time character, this is very exciting. I am definitely one of those people. I am absolutely going to be pulling Hysilens myself, and you'll likely actually see my pull video maybe later today. So in a couple of hours from now, I'll likely upload my pulls. Hopefully they go good. Yeah, I hope all of you enjoyed this video. If you did, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video, and I hope to see you all next time. Peace.